Let's now focus on this, the escalating situation in the Middle East. This morning, President Trump said there will be more strikes against Iran tonight. He said they will be more intense than the ones that took place yesterday. You're seeing footage of that here. He warned the U.S. will take Kharg Island. That has served as the country's main oil export terminal for decades. CBS News contributor Robert Berger joins us from Jerusalem to give us an update on the conflict as it stands right now. Robert, good morning. First, help us understand the value of Kharg Island, not just to Iran, but to the global energy supply, and why President Trump mentioning that it could be targeted is significant.
Well, this is a big escalation if it happens, because Kharg Island is the site where Iran exports 90% of its oil. And so that would further cripple the Iranian economy. But then the question is, what is Iran going to do to retaliate? It has said that if its oil infrastructure is targeted, then it would target the oil infrastructure of the neighboring Gulf states, such as Qatar and Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. And so that could send oil prices skyrocketing even further.
And President Trump today in an interview and yesterday from the Oval Office has been much more threatening toward Iran. He's doing it to encourage them to continue negotiations, but the strait remains closed and energy prices are up. Do you have any sense that the three sides, really, between the U.S., Israel and Iran, are getting any closer to consensus? Because this week began with President Trump telling Israel not to retaliate against Hezbollah, which has been an issue of contention between the U.S. and Israel.
Right. I mean, the whole thing has sort of been turned upside down. At the beginning of the week, Iran targeted Israel with ballistic missiles, about 30 of them, after Israel targeted Beirut. And President Trump had a very angry phone call with Prime Minister Netanyahu saying he's effing crazy and that he has to stop this. And now President Trump is the one that's escalating. Diplomacy, even though President Trump keeps saying that he wants a deal, he's clearly getting impatient and he's stepping up the military pressure. Now, he hopes that will goad Iran into making a deal, but it could have the opposite effect of escalating the military conflict.
And what's interesting is that the U.S. and Israel don't appear to be shoulder to shoulder. There is some daylight between what the two want out of this current phase. In an interview for CBS Sunday Morning, Vice President J.D. Vance acknowledged that sometimes the interests of the U.S. and Israel are not always in sync. Let's just play that clip.
Do you believe the Prime Minister has made any mistakes in how he's worked with the United States on Iran?
Look, he's certainly gotten some things wrong, but fundamentally...
Like what?
Well, I think that those conversations sometimes are better left in private. But what I would say is that he's been a good partner. We're going to keep on working together. But where interests diverge, the United States is going to pursue the best interests of our nation, and that's how it's going to be.
From what you can tell, are the U.S. and Israel really on the same page anymore?
Well, so I think when the U.S. is moving toward a deal, there definitely is daylight, because I think the Israelis feel that any deal is not going to be good for them. I mean, they would like to see tougher military action to further cripple Iran's military. Now, so when the U.S. is moving toward a deal, you do have that kind of tension. But right now that the U.S. is stepping up its military action, I think that could put President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu back on the same page.
Yeah, not a lot of progress to look at today. Bob Berger, live for us in Jerusalem. Thank you, Robert.
Thanks.
We're going to jump now to CBS News White House reporter Iran Navarro. He's outside there on the North Lawn. Aaron, good morning. President Trump made new comments today on his views on Iran and Kharg Island. Break down what new information we heard from the commander-in-chief.
I think the most notable thing from that interview, or at least one of them, is that he already was conflicting his message from earlier this morning when it comes to Kharg Island. In that Truth Social post, which you mentioned earlier, it said that they would be taking Kharg Island in the not too distant future, in addition to other oil infrastructure points in Iran. But in this Fox News interview, he seemed much less definitive, saying he doesn't know if the American people will have the stomach for it, an acknowledgement to the dissatisfaction with the war and its length, and potentially what taking, in his words, Kharg Island would mean in terms of elongating this conflict. Take a listen to what he said over the phone to Fox this morning.
And they're really in submission. They just don't know it yet. Okay, to be honest with you, they just don't know it yet. And we are talking to them and all. But, you know, look, my preference has always been take Kharg Island. I don't know that America has the stomach for it, to be honest with you.
And the president also said his appetite for a deal right now at this moment is less than it was 3 to 4 weeks ago, though again acknowledging that the American people want this conflict to be wrapped up sooner rather than later. But throughout this phone interview on Fox, it was clear that he's been frustrated with the press coverage of this war, suggesting that that has impacted public sentiment around the war rather than the actions taken in Iran themselves.
Yeah, this interview was just about over an hour ago. Yesterday, the president was asked about the latest CPI report there in the Oval Office and noted that prices are on the rise. Let's play some of that.
Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning? Could that be a headwind?
No, I love it.
For
The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation.
He went on to say that he loves it because he believes it will go down after the Iran war is resolved. It isn't any closer to being resolved, as we just laid out. And today we've got the PPI, the Producer Price Index, that accelerated more last month than it has in 3 years. So what will the White House make of this new data and this reality?
Yeah, well, the president went on to say in an interview with the New York Post that he claims he was taken out of context, and that what he meant to say is that he loves where the inflation numbers will be at once this war is over. Though, again, lots of experts say that the hike in gas prices will continue even months after the Strait of Hormuz is reopened to its pre-war levels, which at this moment even looks unlikely on its own. But this is political fodder for the Democrats, and it has put Republicans, not only at the White House, but those running for re-election, in a really tight spot. This comment about the president saying he loves inflation comes after he also said he doesn't care about the Americans, about everyday Americans' financial situations. He has said that he doesn't care about the midterm elections. So if you're a Republican candidate and you're looking and running on supporting President Trump and his agenda, comments like these certainly do not help.
All right, Aaron Navarro at the White House for us this morning. Aaron, thanks.